It's very common to have difficulties and inconveniences when it comes time to settle an estate. And that could happen when a person is deceased, or even if they're put into conservatorship or executorship, where there's somebody who may have assets that's usually a family member that is of an older generation, and that person maybe gets to be 80, 90 years old and they die, or maybe they're in their 70s or 80s and they have to go into long-term care, and their assets now need to start being looked at for distributing to whoever in their family or even outside the family is supposed to have them. That's usually done with a will, sometimes a trust agreement, sometimes it's intestate, which means there is no documentation and the state steps in, the government steps in. No matter what the scenario, the process is always going to be longer, harder, more inconvenient, more complicated than you would think it is. And the reason why is because the distribution of those assets is very closely monitored by officials, and for good reason. They want to make sure that the wrong people are not getting a hold of these assets. If there's a will, they want to make sure that the assets go to who's named in the will. And there's usually an executor of that estate that's named in the will or maybe provided for through other means. That executor is tasked with making sure that all the assets are identified and properly distributed. And if for some reason the executor makes a mistake or intentionally or unintentionally converts assets to the wrong person, that can create some conflict. Many times there's disputes over who's supposed to get the assets. There may be assets that are hidden or not brought into the estate. So how do you handle all this? Well, first of all, what we recommend is if there is an estate to be distributed, that first thing is whoever is in charge of doing it gets a surety bond. You want to have that person bonded, because they may or may not be an expert at this. Sometimes it's a family member, sometimes it's just somebody who's a trusted colleague. They may not have experience in these financial. Your video will be back in 8 seconds. In the meantime, remember, you have access to live one-on-one consultation, undivided attention of a licensed certified expert in this subject and many others. We want to listen to your story. We want to hear your questions and give you expert advisement of your options. We want to tell you what we know about your situation and what options you have. Now back to your video. Matters. So you want to make sure that they get a surety bond so that if they do make a mistake, there's some backup to it. Ideally, there's also frequent reporting. Many times what happens is these estates are dragged out over months or years, and at the end, some of the things that happen early on are not known until the end, and that's where the conflicts come in. So we recommend that the executor provides regular, ideally monthly, reporting on what's going on with these assets and distributes that report to all of the interested parties, all the stakeholders. If you are a potential stakeholder, we would recommend that you request strongly or demand that the executor be bonded, and also request that there are regular monthly statements so you can see what's happening in real time as it's happening, not have to wait till the end to see what the result was. Third thing is, it's ideal that the executor be somebody outside of the sphere of people who are receiving these assets. If they are within the asset class, sometimes there might be decisions made that benefit themselves versus other people, or benefit insiders versus people that maybe they don't think should get assets. Those are a few best practices for distributing assets in an estate, in a probate. If there is a need to do an asset search, you can click the link below. If there's a need to discuss this with a licensed investigator or a licensed property and casualty insurer, you can also visit the consultation link to arrange that kind of discussion. But the reason we're bringing this up is one of the most common types of frauds we're seeing right now is what we call family law fraud. Divorce, probate, wills, executorships, conservatorships, huge amount of fraud, huge amount of assets being improperly distributed. Now, you'd expect that in a divorce because those people are already fighting and they're trying to grab as much as they can. But within an intact family, you wouldn't expect that family members are going to try to steal money from people they're still trying to retain a relationship with in the future. But you want to trust but verify what's happening with these assets and with the other parties to this estate. Thank you for watching another video at actualhuman.com and describe.tv. Remember, if you have questions or comments about our videos, put them in the link below. Also, remember that you have availability and access to live one-on-one question and answer consultation with a licensed expert in a number of fields: investigations, insurance, surety bonds, civil court mediation, even things like real estate records research, real estate brokers, real estate mortgage lenders. In addition, you're going to find that experts are available in business segments, business development, marketing, advertising, certified licensed experts. So if you do find this content valuable and you want to delve more deeply into a subject, you can't ask YouTube a question, right? But if you want to talk to somebody live, an actual human, use the link below. Thanks for watching.